Holla ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher. We got ourselves a brand new raid. As always, I kept myself away from any previews of the Trial of Valor. Looking forward to the excitement of getting in there, especially after the somewhat disappointing Emerald Nightmare. Not the best thing that I wanted to be spending the next few months farming, to say the least. So I was quite happy to see that we had some variation coming up. Was I happy with the Trial of Valor? Yeah, 66% of it is a bit of a letdown, if I'm being honest. 66%. I think that's a sentiment that is echoed throughout the community. We'll talk about them more in depth. What I wanted to do is give my quick overview of what I thought of the dungeon, but then we'll get into some tips so you guys can be a little bit more advanced with it. I will point out that it has only been out since last night, and as I've most of the world not killed Helya Heroic yet, which is seemingly a bit of a cockblock for many guilds. I think when we pulled her last night, only 11 guilds in the world had actually defeated her. We did get to the final phase though, which I was pretty chuffed with, and I'm sure most guilds are actually doing split runs of Mythic Nightmare before they go in, and doing all kinds of nonsense and shenanigans along those lines, which is fine, I don't miss it at all. So going into the Trial of Valor then, presented obviously with Odin and putting his challenge there. Disappointing fight, a little bit hectic towards the end, but not really. Some tips I would have for this is to use your space wisely, especially if you've got some movement. The things that were causing problems for at least my team, and I'm sure many teams across the world, was this gravitational positioning thing. One thing I always teach you guys when we're looking at advanced raid mechanics is positioning. It's so important all the goddamn time. Every single second of the fight. People fail to realize that if you take care of your positioning and your buddy takes care of his positioning, you should pretty much be in the same places throughout the entire fight and therefore have vastly reduced movement, problems, all kinds of stuff. But what happens is Billy starts fucking wandering over to your place, so you move along, and that causes Jack to go and move to his place, and then little Hobnob over there, he's got to move, and suddenly you've got this chain reaction of butterflies going on, and that's no good. And Odin is a perfect example of that. We have AoE splash, but we've also got to collapse and soak in the shield. So what I found personally as mage and hunters, druids, the same, anybody who's got a reasonably quick movement speed, is to get the fuck out of there. I think whenever Blizzard puts down a texture that has a circle in it, people feel drawn to the circle. Like, I've got to stand in the circle, right? No, you don't. You don't stand there at all. There's no real reason to. It's not as if we're gathered for healing on this fight, you know? So go and find yourself a nice spot, and that's your spot. Put your fucking flag down, that's where you're going to be. And you want to be in a position, obviously melee, you don't have to worry about it, you're going to stick on one of the bosses regardless. But if you're a healer or you're ranged, then go and find your place where you're in range of a good 70% of the people if you're a healer, right? It's not that hard, it's not that big of a room. And then just plonk your feet there. Just make sure you're within range to go and soak this Shield of Light if necessary. In phase 3 though, with these tornadoes, people doing all kinds of crazy fucking nonsense. What the hell, man? A lot of thought can go in here, so we'll definitely look at some sort of standout things here, but I think it's pretty obvious, although I saw many people not doing it, is that the areas that are left untouched by the cleansing fire, or whatever Odin calls it, are huge, really big. So what you want is obviously the raids being the natural biggest part of that, a big central area of whichever it would be, if it's one of the sides of the room or if it's in the central actual circle. But what we saw was people just running headlessly with cyclones and just trying to drop them somewhere so they could get back to doing damage. Perfectly fine in Heroic, gotta fuck you, seriously hardcore in Mythic, obviously. So yeah, really push yourselves to the corners, go as fast as you can, always be ready that you might be the next guy with Cyclone. Where are you gonna go? I think always with Raiders is they hope not to get the debuff. Terrible attitude, never going to make you a good player. What you should always be thinking is, what do I do when I get the debuff? Yeah? It's not, I hope I don't get it, it's when I get it. When I get it, what the fuck am I doing with it? Where is my position? Coming back to that again. Position, always. Where am I going to be? Where do I want to be? Can I get there? Am I going to fuck anybody up along the way? These are the kind of questions you should be asking yourself, because quite frankly, Odin doesn't do fucking much of anything else. Where do I stand that I'm not going to die? Over there. Cool. Now I'm going to think about what happens when I get the debuff. Always trying to stack them up as well. I was stacking mine right next to another one. If there's one already there, go and put it there. I think a lot of people like to find an empty space. Don't know why. No reason to do that. You're not going to die if you go near there, so move over there. Drop it right next to each other. Happy, happy days. Then we moved on to Guam. I kind of figured this guy would be a raid boss the first time I saw him in the beta when I went into Helheim for the first time. So unsurprisingly, there he is in what is easily the worst boss room ever designed. I think I mean, it's already existed in the game, right? I mean, it's supposed to be a gateway. Everybody was just trying to jump over the cliffs. Can we just walk past him or whatever? But it is designed with a purpose. I guess it's just, once you actually consider, oh, this is actually a raid arena. Okay, I suppose so. So we get this fantastical little square. The biggest disappointment in the dungeon, for me, certainly highlighted the overtunedness, and I'm sure many of you are waiting for you to mention that, or if I would. Yeah, it's overtuned. For the gear it's dropping. We certainly seem to have reached a point where Blizzard is balancing around Titanforged and Warforged and not the base level items, right? Now, I think that's a discussion we're going to have later on in the month, is where do we sit on that, considering the idea is that those items were brought in so that guilds that were struggling and caught blocked by a boss would have the chance for upgrades so they could overgear it eventually. Now they seem to be so frequent with Warforged and Titanforged and gem slots and blah blah blah, is that they're balancing around the idea that you have much higher gear than what they're actually going to base drop in the dungeon. But regardless of that, yeah, sure, it's overtuned. Moving then into Guam, the real sadness about this fight is just how utterly ridiculously predictable it is, and I find it really, really boring when the fight is so completely predictable. So we only have two real dangers here. One is getting in the right color. Not hard. He does it when he gets 100 energy. You can see it coming a mile away. His energy bar fills up. He's about to hit 100. Therefore, he's going to do it. Where am I going to go? Again, position, position, position. I'm going to move to there. If it's there, if it's there, if it's there, it can only be in one of three places. Same if you're tanking this boss, okay? Face it away from the raid until he's near 100 energy. Turning towards the raid. Easy as fuck. Fucking boring, man. And then he's going to do 2 leaps. Nothing much happens there, and then he's going to do the thing that's going to catch all you slackers off guard if you're tunnel visioning or if you're not thinking about it. But if you're a great player, this is where you can pick up all that valuable extra DPS. He's going to start doing his headlong charge and killing people. So you know this is coming, right? Because the fight is totally, utterly predictable. He's going to do like 2 of the fucking colours on the floor, then he's going to do 2 little leaps, and then he's going to do his headlong charge. So what you'll see is as soon as that happens, I move from my far back position where I was going to be soaking the fire on the floor, and then I move right to the middle. Why? I want to do as much DPS while he's running around as possible. Is it going to kill me? Is it fuck? Not a chance in fucking hell I'm dying to this thing in before I die next week. So, yeah, this is all you're doing. This is where you could take advantage. A lot of people will be panicking here. Am I in the right place? You know it's coming. Two things, headlong charge is coming. You can safely just go and dive in there and get ready for it. And then follow him around, essentially doing big deep DPS. Ergo, reset the fight for phase 2, go all the way down and kill him again. Pfft. Boring. Sad fight, but that's how you're going to pick up your... This is the only way you're going to pick up your extra DPS, is making good advantage of headlong charge. So, yeah, just don't fail that. Moving on to Helya then. This boss is fucking awesome. It almost seems to have no place in this dungeon. It really does seem to feel that way. It's so ridiculously out of place considering Guam is such a tight enclosed space. Odin is basically essentially a repeat of the 5-man dungeon with, you know, everything kind of turned up a little bit. And then you get to Helya and it's like, holy shit, there is so much going on here. It's fucking awesome. So I was giving the prestigious task of soaking the slamming tentacles that are in the far back. Always seemed to happen when I was about to do some rocking DPS on the sludges, but that's the way it goes. Any tips for this fight? This is raid overall stuff. In terms of DPSing this, position, again, once against is king. There's some great lessons to learn from the Trial of Valor in terms of positioning. You know that he's kind of going to go, or she is going to go left blobs, right blobs, left blobs, right blobs, tentacles, right? So you know that order's coming, which means range can be a factor. So what you have to do is ensure that you're going to get the correct range for each of those things, and you're also preparing things. So as soon as you see the breath charge, like for me as a mage, I'm going to start casting my Rune of Power, so that as soon as they physically appear, I'm good to go on my DPS, and I've already got my buffs down and stuff like that. So you guys are going to be doing the exact same thing. If you're casting something in an area or whatever it might be, or if you need to get somewhere, you know when it's about to come. Just don't stand in the breath, obviously. Moving forward then, it was more raid stuff that I found, and I'm sure this is in the guides, I'm sure Loz and Alex covered it in some form, but we found certainly that, again, it was position, no surprises there at this point, but forming 2 lines, this is something that we tried for a couple of pulls last night and reduced raid damage considerably, because you have a couple of raid damage things going on in this fight. Being in the middle of the room is the worst place you could possibly be ever. Fuck that noise. So what we did is similar to whether you saw Paragon do Archimond, where they created 2 lines, is we formed loosely, very, very loosely, you don't need to to be rigid with this, but make sure that nobody stood to your left or your right. Pretty much that easy. That way, if you get targeted by the purple shit or the green shit, you just move to your right if you're stood on the right hand side, or you move to your left if you're stood on the left hand side, and that just cut raid damage down to fuck all. Just be careful when the breath is coming, because it's rather you stand still with a green thing and drop it there temporarily than go ahead and walk into a breath and die. That would fucking suck. Onwards, we haven't actually killed Heroic Hellier yet. We are up to phase 3 and trying a couple of different strats out for it, which has been a lot of fun, suggesting different things. It's always my favourite part of raiding. This is why I raid and why I raid blind, essentially. I don't watch any guides, is I like being in there and figuring out what's going on. So what I want to do is kill that before I come back with any specific tips. I will say, as an addendum raid, sure, fine, I guess. I mean, it's on par with something like Sartharian or Hellion, something along those lines. Is it amazing? No. Hellier looks like it could be fantastic. I'm really hoping the mythic version is balanced correctly. It does feel overtuned at the moment. Like I said, I expected way more guilds. I'm actually in front of my PC now, so, well, duh, because I'm recording this. But, oh, my keyboard's dead. Never mind. I was going to check when... I was going to check how many guilds have killed it now. I'm sure there's many more, but hopefully we'll kill it tonight, and then I can come back with some proper tips about maximizing your damage. There's a huge amount of positioning stuff that you can do, especially in phase 2 when you're dealing with the Tentacles, the Mariners, and the Grime Lords, I believe they're called, and also trying to maximize or not do AoE, which was our case. Not doing AoE actually made the fight significantly easier, particularly on the second wave of them. So I'll look at that as soon as I can. But first impressions, alright, I could deal with it. It's alright. It breaks up the monotony of Emerald Nightmare farming. Our guild's 7 out of 7, as many others are, and hopefully this will pay off. So I hope you're having a great day, guys. If you've not been in there yet, just be prepared. It is a little tough. It's a little tough compared to what you might have been expecting. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some nerfs incoming or hot fixes or something along those lines, especially for normal and heroic. I would expect that to happen. I saw some of the teams were struggling on some of the normal bosses. The DPS check on Guam is particularly fucking nasty. 1 or 2 deaths there is really going to fuck you. So, not an interesting fight, but one that punishes you pretty hardly just by having sheer amount of health. Although that'll alter over the weeks and days, of course. Alright, guys. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.